scroll down.
Mm.
Okay, so keycode dot space is correct. That means your spacebar is not working. Maybe just click anywhere and press spacebar to see if you get a space there or not. Click anywhere, type anything, and press a spacebar.
Here only.
Press space. Press a spacebar. It's working. It's working. No.
Yeah, it's working, sir.
Then why it is not getting? Get key
So,
down key code dot space. So that means it is not reaching to that part of the code.
yes,
X
sir.
greater than X range. Horizontal. Now click on play and move your player left and right. Is it working? Update. Uh,
No, it's not working, sir. Even if I like this is will move like, but this is like manual. Plane is moving, but
click play. No. Click play mode and press the left and right arrow keys. Your player should go left and right.
no, it's not working, sir. No.
So basically, none of the keyboard inputs are working.
Yes. So
Uh,
the
strange.
script
Go
is
to your
correct, na? That
script is correct. Basically, your keyboard's
okay.
input has not been captured. So
Okay,
your
sir.
player is
So
not moving at all. That's it, no?
yes, yes.
Then you go to your file or edit project settings. Go to file top left, the file tab of the Unity editor. Click on build settings, the third last option.
Okay.
Now click on player settings, the bottom left, the last option on the left side bottom, left,
Okay.
player
Okay.
settings. Click here.
Clear setting.
Click on input manager and make the window bigger. So just drag it from the right hand side. Click on the input manager. On the left hand side, you see input manager as the fifth option from the top. Click on the left input manager.
Yeah, I did.
Click on axis. On the right, you see axis. Click expand that.
Yeah, it is expanded.
Click on horizontal. The top one, horizontal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Everything is same. Then what's the problem?
I don't know, sir. Maybe in this system it is not working. In laptop, it is working well. Maybe there is some issue with this keyboard. So I
No,
will
even I'm
see.
also using a your Bluetooth keyboard only because the script and everything is correct, and keyboard is
Okay.
working while you are typing out a script. Then it is also working. Use physical keys. For
Mm,
me, use physical file, build settings, pair settings. Where is my input manager? Arrow keys. Everything is same. Key your mouse button, get axis, x-axis, get motion from all joystick. Snap is also there. Then what is the problem? So
okay,
is your keyboard connected to via USB or what is that? So are you on a desktop
US
or a laptop?
desktop, sir, and
It's a
it is.
desktop. Then it is fine. You are using a wired keyboard. Your keyboard is anyway
Yeah,
working. No,
yeah,
there
it
is
is
some
working.
weird. There is some weird
It is
issue then.
like
And there is no
yeah.
error. Wait. Go back to your Unity once more. Click play and click on the game window. Then use your keyboard
Okay, where game
because
window.
anywhere on the game window on the bottom window. Click play
Oh,
once. First you click play. Then you click
mhm.
anywhere in the game window. Then use your keyboard.
Yeah, now it's
So
working.
so basically, if you click out of the
Oh,
window in the play mode,
okay.
then you cannot play the game. So you have to. So there is something called if your mouse cursor is on the game window, then only it will work. Otherwise, it's like you are working on some other window. The game need not to be played. So everything is fine. That was the only issue. So just make sure
Okay.
if you're running it in this way, where you are in the small window, your game is running. So you have to click on the
Mhm.
window anywhere to get the focus of the controls on the game window. Otherwise, we want to change other things, right? Suppose you have attached something to your mouse control, so it should
Yes,
know
yes.
whenever you are on the game window and whenever you are doing something else which is not part of the game. So that's why
Mhm.
there is something called application in focus, some inbuilt function which keeps on running whether my application is still in focus or some other window is in focus.
Okay,
Then fine,
okay.
it's working now. So you have to click, just remember you have to click on the screen, on the game window
Okay.
anywhere. Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. I stuck you from.
Yeah, no, it's a silly problem,
Yes.
but we have to somehow
Thank you, sir.
get to it once. No problem.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Anybody else who has any issues until shooting the food from the farmer? Because we have a lot of things to cover today and it is going to be the last class for this week. So I would like to finish off this unit so that you have very good assignments to do before you celebrate Independence Day and the weekend. So any other questions? Zubin Sultan P. Umar, any problem with you? All good? Zabin.
Yeah, good, good.
So what's the status? Were you able to finish until the shooting part? Food shooting.
Like, I have coded the like first unit completely and tried with the shooting part in live it too.
The shooting part is yet to be done for you, right?
Yeah, it's working. It's done.
Okay, okay, great. Next, Shivang Sonkar, Ayantika Roy. Those who have joined, please share if you're facing any problem. Something is not working, unable to install, some random error. Srinath, all good with you? Professor Gautam, you have joined or we have to wait for a while?
Join.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so what I'll do is we'll
Hmm.
start with the next steps in Unit 2. Okay, so
Sure,
we
sure.
are
Yeah.
done until shooting food, right? So next you were discussing about we should remove all the objects which are not in the scene, right? So as to optimize the space. So next step is
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
only. So before that, we just have to make one more behavior. Okay, so let me share my screen. So our next step is we are on step 5 on page number 11, right? Make animals into prefabs. So currently our player is moving left and right and it is able to shoot food towards the animals. But we also have to make the animal move towards my farmer, right? So we'll do that.
I am not able to see your screen.
Okay, I've not shared it yet. Entire screen, one share. You should be able to see the screen now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so our player is moving left and right. It is able to shoot food wherever it goes. But to make it more challenging or give it a shape of an actual game, we have to make the animals also move towards my player. So for that, first of all, we have to select all our animals. How many animals you have kept? I have kept just 3. If you have 10 or more, you can use all of that, or maybe at least one instance of each animal should be there in the scene because we'll be converting them into prefabs. So currently their forward direction is away from my player. So if I make them run, they will go above. It's like a farmer is following the animals, but that's not the game. So I want to turn it into by 180 degrees in the right direction so that all my animals are facing the farmer. Right. Once it is done, I want my animals also to move. So how can I do that? So we already have a script for food, uh, which is making the food item move, right? So we will be using the same script. That's why we have named it as move forward. So I'll select all my animals, or I can do it one by one. I'll just attach this script onto it, move forward, and let me change the speed because it's a dog. So let's change because if we don't want it to travel as fast as we are shooting the food. Okay, so the speed has to be slow. So let's keep it as 3 now. And horse is a bit faster, so I'll add the script and change the speed to say I think 15. And moose, I don't know. And moose also looks like a fast animal, more kind of a cross between a horse and a what do you call that? Mm, black buck or something like that. Okay, so let's make it also 12, right? Now I've attached the script to all these animals, and when I click play, they should also start moving. They should also start moving towards their z-axis, individual z-axis. So I have, if you look at this particular animal, the z-axis is still facing that way. That is because it's the global axis. So global axis means whatever is my world coordinate system. So if I look at this particular game objects, then it is facing this way, right? Because I turned all the animals by 180 degrees. So there are two coordinate systems. One is the world scale, like the basic static coordinate system with reference to which we are creating my world. So that is, you can see on the top right over here. And the other one is the global, which is with respect to each individual game object, how it is turned, right? So this is fine. What I'll do is I'll just click on play, then they should start running towards me. Yeah, they are running. Okay, and if we see, they have this sort of animation also being played, but they are going very far, and I can also see if I've clicked here, now my game will not play. If I'm pressing the spacebar, nothing will happen. On this window, if I'm anywhere else, then it will not work. When I click here, then only it will start working. Okay, so this is working. I have these animals, I have multiple clones. Okay, fine. So now what I want is, I just don't want these three animals to actually run towards me. What I want is, I want multiple animals running towards me randomly. Okay, not like I just have three, I dodge three, then there is no point of playing this kind of a game, right? So what I'll do is, I'll just make a prefab of all these. So I'll make a prefab. I'll just select all of these, drag and drop over here. I'll choose original prefab because I have changed or added some behaviors on top of this, right? Okay, all of this are there. Then it is okay. Now I have made it to prefabs. That is all. But there is still one problem where the food that we are shooting, it is creating some extra clone game objects, and they are staying in my hierarchy. Suppose if I play my game for 5 minutes, then I think there will be around 500 to 1000 extra game objects that are being created. And similarly, if my animals go beyond a certain range. Say if my animal passes my farmer, then there is no point of keeping this game object alive or keeping this game object active in my game. It is unnecessarily just taking extra space and computation in my game, right? So for that, we want to do is we want to destroy projectiles, or we want to destroy game objects which are beyond the bounds. So for us, bounds are going to be the y, say the z limit. So maybe if my anything which is beyond this point should actually get destroyed. If I destroyed means just remove them or delete them from my hierarchy, right? Or if they are below the farmer, they should get destroyed. So for that, what we can do is we should create a new script, right? And let's say I'll go to my scripts folder, create new C# script. We'll name it as destroy out of bounds so that we know what does this script do. Okay, so this is there. Now I'll move it, and the way for us, let us define the bounds. Let's just roughly define the bounds. So let me just switch the scene view so that we can actually get an idea. So right click, I'll drag and use my keyboard to position it in this way. Right now, if suppose I'll just use farmer for example. So now if I move it up, it is at this point, it will go out of the bound, right? So I'll take my Z coordinate to be 16, right? Or maybe just let's take it, say 20 for our own example. So if my Z value is more than 20 and say less than, I think minus 3, less than -5, then I should destroy it. Okay. So I'll make it 0 now. So these are two bounds because in every movement is happening in the z direction only. So we want the bounds only in the z direction. The player only moves in the x direction. We already have bounds in place for that. So what I'll do is I'll just create a variable called say let's make it public first. Then we can make public float say z bound. Okay, and we can call it what? Let's keep it at 20. Okay, 20, and now in the update function, I want to check whenever my z position or my transform dot position dot z becomes greater than this position, I want to destroy this, right? Destroy this particular game object. So idea is that for all the objects which could be destroyed apart from the player, right? Like animals and the food, we will attach this script onto every game object and then save all of them as a prefab so that each individual item knows when I cross this bound, I need to get destroyed, right? So what I'll do is, so I'll do if the check if the game object crosses the bound. Okay, so let's see if transform dot position dot z is greater than z bound, right? So what I'll do is I want to destroy the game object. So destroy is pretty simple. Just destroy and write game object. So now things to understand here is that this game object refers to the game object on which this script is attached. If I write with capital G, this thing will turn to green. That means we are talking about a complete class of
Huh?
game objects, right? It says class.
Huh?
So the okay,
So I'm
Rajshekhar, you
not
have
stuck
to.
in between.
Hmm.
No,
You want to say
after
something, Rajshekhar?
somewhere the end of the tutorial.
Okay. So let us reach there, then we will fix that issue, right? Rashika, you want to say, are you talking to me
That I
or
added, but collision only it's not clearly given. I have to do that. Come and see it. This one.
Rashika? I'll just mute you for
I
this while,
followed
but
the
I
Twitter
can't do that.
component. Yeah.
Uh, Rashika, can you mute yourself for a while? Fine. Thank you. I'll just continue. Okay, so let's add this thing. If my game, so I was talking about this thing. So the game object keyword with the name with the small g means the particular game object on which this script is attached. So even if in any script I write small this game object is small g without the default any extra color, the default blue color, that is referring to the game object on which this script is attached. Otherwise, you would have to do something like this dot game object. All that is not required. We have this predefined functionality. So basically, if this game object is beyond the z bound, destroy the game object. So let's test it. To test it, okay, it says now I will do what I'll do is I'll just open my first of all my food is being shot in that direction. So I will use food first. So I'll just open prefabs I'll add a food item over here. And on this, I will add my script. So let me just uh, collapse all of these. So on this, I am adding my new script called destroy out of bounds. And whenever my Z value of the food item will go beyond this thing, it should destroy itself. And I'm making a change onto a prefab, which I want to save in the same prefab. So I'll go to override, click and apply all. So basically it says, it will show what new changes. So in this prefab, we have added this script. That's all. That's the complete change. So I'll apply all. Now it is applied. So what I'll do is I can maybe just remove it from my scene and then save the scene and try running it. So whenever my see animal is going and if I click, see the food is not going further. So if you look at the hierarchy and look at the screen over here, you will figure out. I'll create a food and it's getting closed. So if I can create multiple, they're all getting destroyed at after a certain limit, right? So that's the kind of behavior we want. Now, similarly, we want this behavior for our animals as well, right? So instead of yeah, is less is this Suppose this is only in the positive y direction. So what can I do is I can just add here as well if my transform dot position and or basically or I'll use or here. I think the or is this one. Yeah. So this is the button just below the backspace in my keyboard. In all the keyboard it's there only. On backward slash you see this button, that means it's the pipe operator, that means or either this is true or this is true, you perform this action if anyone is true, right? So position dot z is less than the negative of my z bound. So right in the in the PDF they are defining these two things as separate items, but either you can do that or you can use this one as well. Okay. So now if I attach this script to say all my animals, so basically I'll just choose all the animals and I'll attach this script to them as well. And because they are all prefabs and I want to reflect these changes in the original prefab. So what I'll do is overall say apply all. So now all my prefabs I can remove. I should not remove. Let's see. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just save this. I'll play and my bullets should also get destroyed and my animals, see if they go beyond 20, see they are okay. Dog will take some time to vanish, but yeah, they are doing the trick. So as soon as it crosses they are going off, and if I click and shoot they're also going off, right? So we can play with this range. Suppose you want to get a bigger area, that is also fine. So now if I go to my prefabs and grab all of these animals, why only these two animals are there, dog and horse? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just see all of them are here. A Labrador, Moose. Moose is not there. I'll drag and drop Moose over here. I'll create an original prefab. That is now it has destroy out of bounds. My animal also has destroy out of bounds. Dog also has destroy out of bounds. They will work, right? So what I'll do is now I can play once more and just to show you that it is working. So if I drag any item in the scene, say this, all these animals I can drag and drop and they will keep getting destroyed like this. So but we want to happen all of this dynamically from the script, so I don't want to keep dragging it all the time. So if I keep dragging they will start moving and they will get destroyed once they cross the limit. Say I drop a food over here, it will go and destroy it. Fine, so this is also working fine. So the next thing is destroy animals of the screen. We have already taken care of that. Okay, in the same script. That is so cool. So you can actually follow the PDF. They have done it in a slightly different way, right? So they have for this thing they have defined a top bound, and for animals they have defined two different variables because these two could be different. For me, I'm just taking both of them to be as 20. So my animals will stay for an extra distance in the negative z direction, but that is fine for now. You can use this one, and this is more optimized, right? Because it is destroying as soon as it is going out of the screen. Okay, so you can follow this, or you can follow whatever I have done. So the next step is now we
So
have to
will be
create.
trained for hello?
Yes,
This
Naveen.
bound will be trained for all screens, like a different size of screens. If we use the gaming,
Yeah. So basically, you can play with this, play around with this. So what the correct way is to do that? You take a default screen size. Say suppose this is my screen. Now you take the bound to be say this big, so that it fits any of the screen. Okay, or you
like
can
if
test
you want
at you can test with
uh,
different screen sizes over here. 16:9 or full HD, 1920 1080, or say 4K Ultra. This is how it should look like. So basically, my screen is not capable, yeah, to render in the y direction. But so the idea is just take a small area, play area, and then take a bigger area for the bounds to destroy the objects. Say in any case, it should not get destroyed within the view of the camera. So mine is like -20 and 20. I can increase it to 30. So no problem in that. Okay. So you should not be doing it for, let's suppose you build this game for desktops or laptops, then you make it a version for your mobile phones. So you should not able to, you should not be required to change this. You take a number which is fine, say it will work with all the screens. Just give a extra margin for getting destroyed, right? Because the player doesn't care. For him, it will not be visible that whether they are getting destroyed. This thing will not be visible. Only this screen will be visible to them. and they just want to play the game and don't worry about get things getting stuck. And the game should be smooth. There should be no lag or any performance issues, right? So just take a play area and increase some extra margin for the bounds in both directions and use that.
So this bound will works on all side of screens, right? The bound we given like 20, whatever, like even if we change our with the same code and stuff, if we change the screen, the same thing will work, right? It won't go like and
So
out of
you
field.
are talking about this bound in all the three directions.
No, in the same direction itself, but if we change the PC in this, the code is being run, will the bound
Huh.
will be the same, like 20. The amount 20 will be the same, or it will change according to the screen size.
So current implementation will not change according to the screen size. It will be taking this number as the input. But what you can do is you can actually programmatically capture the device which is running this application and set the bounds based on that. So you can also do
Okay.
that. There has to be some function for that. So get the device resolution from resolution in Unity. Device screen. So there is this function, right? So you can either call this. So display dot main system height and main system width. So if you call this display class, so whenever you're running the game, you get the display class. If they're running it on a say a tablet or a phone or on a laptop, you can get it and then use that height to define your bounds to dynamically set the bounds. Okay, this class is the Unity class only display and provides access to a display screen of the rendering operations for rendering operations. Okay, so you can have desktops, Androids, and then use it. So basically, yeah. So it says if display's length is greater than one, so basically there are more than one display connected, then you set the resolution. So you can set the resolution as well and do all sort of things. Okay. So basically, you can access everything from within a system. You can access different sensors as well. If you want to make a motion capture game or say a, uh tilt wala game kind of a thing, all those sensors and all those internal functions are accessible from within Unity itself. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's moving on. Next, we want to just like we are spawning the food from the player every time we are pressing the spacebar. So now we want to spawn the animals randomly. So for that, we want to create a new script which will take care of what is the list of the animals that I want to spawn and at what location we want to spawn. Okay. So let's create a empty game object first. So for all the so in a proper game, there will be multiple scripts which are actually controlling different behaviors of the game, but they are not they do not have a visual. So they are just script that needs to be running in the game when the game is being played. So we save all of these things into empty game object. So I'll create a new empty game object. I'll call it spawn manager. In my case, in this spawn manager, which will be responsible for spawning all the animals in the screen while the game is being played. So now this is an empty game object. There is no visual. Only transform is there, and that does not matter at all. So we just want to keep it in my hierarchy so that I can attach a script onto it, and which will mean that whenever I click on play, the script starts running. Okay, and the script can take care of other things, right? Suppose for the spawn manager, if I attach my spawn manager to this particular game object and it gets destroyed, then from that point, my spawn manager active functionality will stop working. I don't want that. Suppose you want to measure the health of the user, like say you are making a first person shooter game, you want to capture what is the current health. So you want a separate script which is actually taking care of the amounts of bullet or the amounts of the time the player is getting hit. Or if you want to keep a track of the points, say the user has to collect some points, to keep the track of the points throughout the game, irrespective of the number of lives the user is actually using playing, you have to create a separate empty game object which remains active throughout the playtime of the player. Okay, so this is an empty game object. Now I'm going to my script folder, create a new script called let's say spawn manager only, and I'll open this one, or basically I just attach it to my spawn manager right away. So I'll attach it to my spawn manager. Now if I click, I'll see my spawn manager scripts already attached. And here what I want is I want to spawn my uh, multiple animals. So first of all, I need a collection or say a bag to store what all animal prefabs I want to spawn. Right? Not one, but a list. So what I'll do is I'll create a public game object and list. So now this thing means the my variable is a list of type game objects. List is a simple list of items. So when you go out for shopping groceries, you get a list from your mother or your or whatever, you create the list yourself. It's a list of items. And here in C sharp, all the items of this list can only be game objects, right? So let's call it animal prefabs, because I want to get all the prefabs that I want to spawn, right? And in the update function, what I want to do is I can spawn the animals based on my. First of all, we'll try spawning the animals based on a keyboard press. So we will use the S key. Okay. So what I'll do is first I will check get keyboard input to spawn the animal, and then inside that you spawn the animal. So I'll get if what is that input dot get key down, and my key is what key code dot s, right? Then what I want to do is I want to instantiate animal prefab. So animal prefab will take a index now. So let's see animal prefabs, and it will take an index. Suppose I want to spawn the first one. Now, for your understanding, this list, let me just write it here only. So list, basically this is a collection of items of a specific type, right? So let's say game object is a list collection of specific type, and the type is like game object in this case, game object, and to access individual uh, items of the list, we use indexing. So basically, just like roll numbers, you can access. So you, all of you, must be having a roll number or a enrollment number. Some number is there. So similarly, we can access the item of the list. Say the first item, the second item, the third item, or the fifth item in my list. I can access that. So I what I can do is say my list name is what animal prefabs, and in the brackets I can pass say zero or any number, say two, right? This three. So basically, I can access an individual item of the list by using this kind of a indexing functionality. So, but the only catch here is that the first item has the index zero. So, natural number starts from one, two, three, but logically zero is the first number here. So the first item is the index is zero. The second item the index is one. The third item has the index of uh, two. Okay. So for here, I'm assuming I'll spawn this at two, and to get a say a random location. So I'll do a new vector because it needs a position, right? So new vector three. I'll give it a random position. Say what 0, 0, 0. It should be in the y direction. So let's give it as -2 in the x direction. Y direction does not matter. And the z, no, y direction, does it matter? No, y direction does not matter. Let's keep it 0. And the z direction, say what 3. And the rotation is what I can say new quaternion, or I'll just say quaternion, or maybe just keep the prefab of the animal only. So animal prefabs, whatever is there, dot transform, dot rotation, easier. Okay, I can close this. So basically now I have to first add animals to this particular list, and then whenever I press S, it will spawn the animal prefab at the very first index at this particular location with this particular rotation, right? So let's see if this works. So now if I click on my spawn manager, I see animal prefabs. It has 0 as of now. If I click here, I can add, say I can add an item. I can add my first prefab to be, say, dog. Right. So this is now element 0. That means at index 0, we have this animal. And in the second animal, let's say have animal moose. Third animal should be my horse. Right. So these are the list of animals. Now if I click S, my animal will get spawned, just like dragging and dropping from here, and they will start working. See, dog is being spawned at this particular location. Right. You see there is a line of dogs. Like if I zoom, if I press S now, so maybe the random position is not that great. It's very close by, so I'm not able to see, but it's working. Right. Now if I make it move up, now if I press, because now animal moose has become at element 0. So now moose will be spawned. But the location is still fixed because I have given a specific location in my code. Right. So now if I press my animal, now sorry, horse, then it should also spawn. It is spawning whenever I press F, just like you were shooting things, shooting food. So this functionality is working, but now we want to make it more dynamic. Okay, so for that, what we will do is, first of all, okay, yeah. So what we will do is, this is a specific location. We want to get a random number, a random location within my screen range. And this index I have given manually. I want to capture, use it using a, say what, integer or a variable. So what I'll do is, first of all, I'll define public int animal index. So this will store the index that I need to be spawned. We'll keep changing that as well. Also, I'll need a public float y range to spawn my animals. Okay, or x range as well. X range and y range. Sorry, x range and z range. So spawn range gz. Right. Let's keep it 20 because for destroy out of bounds we are keeping 20. So that let's keep this one as 20 as well. And I want a range in the x direction as well. Control Z, Control C, Control V. I'll call it X. And this should be what? Farmer controller. Our X is until which point? 14. So let's keep it 14. So let's keep it 14. Okay. Now we also want to have a, okay. Right. So now whenever I press the key S, what it should do is it get a, first of all, this is instantiate animal prefab. Right. But before this, you get a generate a random position for spawning. Right. So what I'll do is I'll create a new vector 3. So let's call it vector 3 spawn position, maybe spawn pos. It is equal to new vector 3. And in the x, what I want is, so there is a function. So we don't have to write a random function ourselves, but there is a function called random dot range, and it should work as, so this is the x coordinate. So I wanted to go from the spawn range x. Where is spawn range? Spawn range x minus 2 spawn range plus spawn range x plus. This is my x coordinate. My y coordinate will be 0 because y coordinate is coming out of the plane of the play. So there is no point, right? So I'll keep it 0, and my z will be exactly like this, but it will take the range of the z spawn range. So I'll just paste it and make it z and make this one as z, right? And just use quotes. Okay, now maybe this is fine. I'll just, okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a spawn position which is a new vector 3 data type, and the x coordinate will be any random number between these two values. So from minus 14 to plus 14, it could be any number, any float, any decimal number. Y will always be 0, and my z will be any number between range z and range y. Sorry. range Z in the Z direction. So I think this is not correct. So better let's create a spawn, because why this will not work, because my Y is 20. So my animal can spawn here, here, or even below my this thing, below my uh, below my player as well. So this range is currently, so if you look at the Z direction, so Z is equal to, what is this, farmer. So if I take, this is like 20 and this is also 20 in this way. So my animals can spawn at this point. So better define a normal range for my player for the Z range. So what I'll do is I'll just spawn range as 20, spawn range Z, and so let's call it top bound and bottom bound. Top, like to make it,
So,
top bound is 20. Yes, yes.
uh,
And let me define a.
uh, if the animals are getting initiated out of the field of view, why can't we
Hmm.
keep the text itself? Like it doesn't matter if it gets a आगे पीछे little bit. It can be from the same place.
So I'm saying I want them to spawn in this area so that they can run towards my animal, my player. If they are spawning in the back side, say below my player, then there is no point. No. So basically, I am just defining a range between 0 to this thing. So actually, it is easier. I can just good idea. Control Z, Control Z. I'll keep it the same. Control Y, Control Z, Z. Spawn range Z. So instead of starting from minus, I can start from 0. So animal can spawn anywhere between say 1. So 1 is at this point. So we are at where is my animal? Where is my player? See. So if you look at this way, this line is y is equal to 0. This line is y is equal to 1. So I have given y is equal to 1 to y is equal to 20. Is it like that, or I think it's just the cell is 5 meters? Oh, it is 10 meters. So basically, spawn manager farmer. If I move it up to here, so this is I think 10. This is 10. So I'll make the range for spawning to be this rectangle. So basically this line y is equal z is equal to 5 up to z is equal to 20. In this area, anywhere the animal should be able to spawn. And x range is between minus 14 and plus 14. So between this area, my animal will get spawned. I'll show you in a while. So let's make it 5. And that is it. And no. So this spawn position I'll be using instead of this, because now it will generate a random position. And also I want to get a index of my animals as well, right? So this is my position, and select a random animal from the list. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just animal index is equal to random dot range, not random range, just range, and I want to do it from 0 to the animal, no, animal prefabs dot length. So basically, this means animal prefabs dot length means how many items are there, and range will give me a number between 0 and the last length of my item, the length of my list. And this is inclusive, but this is not inclusive. As in, suppose I have say list has 5 items total. So my random function will be range will be from 0 to 5, but the output can be output. I could be either 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. It can never be 5. That so this means non-exclusive, non-inclusive, right? So basically, any number between 0 up to 5, but not 5. Okay. So this could be the output. This is an example. So basically, of course, you will start from 0, because the index starts from 0. So there is no point of, because fifth, if you even if you fetch the 5th item, you will never find the item at the index 5. Okay. So now I'll pass the animal index instead of my 0. So animal index and animal index. So now the complete sense becomes, whenever I press S, it will generate a spawn position, which is a vector 3. So my X range it will give me any number, any decimal number between the minus x, say minus 14 to plus 14. Y will always be 0. Z could be any number between 5 to 20, right? Okay, there is a spelling mistake. AW, 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 or I can just say right click, change all occurrences, and I can change this only. AW. Okay, did not work. AW. Fine, fine, fine. It is done. And so it will create a random position for my animal spawning, and index will get me any number between the list. So basically, every time I press S, it will choose a new animal. New, it could be a repeated animal, but any animal from those three animals in my list. You can add 10 animals or 20 animals. It will work for you in all cases. So let's see if this works. And we should see them spawning in this particular area only. Let me click play. Then these three will move. And now I will press S. This is I'm shooting, and let me press SC. All the animals are spawning and they start moving towards this. And every time it's a random animal. And the area is this only. Right. So for in the gameplay, it looks fine. Right. So I'm spawning after pressing S. Okay. And you can also increase the number of animals, but make sure you have these two scripts attached, the move forward and the destroy out of bounds, and they are facing towards my animal, to the player. So I don't want these anymore because I'm spawning it from the keyboard. But we are still not done with our game, because the animal should get spawned automatically based on some time interval or whatever. But the player should not be required to press a key to spawn the animal. Okay, that does not make sense. So next is, so now we can make a new method to spawn animals, and we can spawn them in a timed interval. Okay. So we will look at some of the coding practices as well. So basically I am doing all of this in my, whenever I am pressing this particular keyboard. So what I can do is I can just cut all of this and create a new function. Just like this thing is a method or a function, whatever you want to call it, it's a method. So I can create a new method called public spawn animals, and just like that I can give curly braces. Okay, okay, curly braces, and paste everything over here, right? And in update I'm calling spawn animals. Public void, it is showing me error because there has to be a return type defined. So what this function is returning, so void means it will not return anything. So return means say if you go to a shop, you pay the money, you get the product, right? So you are so if you make it like shopping a function, then you, in return, you are getting the object or whatever the stuff you are buying. Similarly in methods, most of the time we want to return something, and then most of the other times we don't want to return anything. We wanted to do something, that's all. Okay, so void means it is not returning anything. We can make a function which can return, say, return a particular game object, return a string, or return a bool value, all of that. Okay, so for now we have created a new function, and we'll just call this in my update function, right? So let's see first of all if this does not change anything. Okay, so basically in the update loop it will keep calling this function. So now my code looks way clearer, right? So let's see if this works properly or not. Basically it is the same thing, but it is in a more readable form. Okay, so now I can write it as method to spawn random animals. Okay, now if I go back to my script, not to the Unity editor, and if I click on play, the behavior should remain exactly same. I am able to shoot, and if I click S, I have animals. I can move. My animals are coming towards me, and if I press S, so everything seems to work fine. Okay, and they are destroying as well. Let's save. So they are essentially the same thing, but it is a good way to manage or uh, clean your code up. Okay. So next thing is, we will look at now. What I want is I want to say spawn my animals based on a timed interval, not based on some key input, right? So what I'll do is I'll just create one more variable to store the interval. So I'll do it maybe not public. Let's make it private because it's a time interval. You don't want to play around with this. So private float say start delay. So basically after what time the game starts, you should start spawning, and there is going to be some other variable which will take care of at what interval it should keep spawning. Okay. So when you want to start, after the game starts, after 2 seconds it will start, and then once it starts, after what interval you want to keep spawning. So I would say repeat interval or spawn interval. Say repeat interval makes more sense to me. Interval, and we can keep it as say one or what. Let's say 1 second will be too fast. Let's keep it at 1.5 f because it's a decimal number. I have to write f. Now in start, there is a specific function. So if you have some functionality or you some kind of behavior that you want to have in your game, which needs to keep repeating over time throughout the game, right? So whether it is spawning something or maybe just a timer, or you can say if you have make a game like there is a fuel tank and you have make a race game, and this fuel tank as soon as the game starts, it starts decreasing, and whenever you get a fuel it will increase again. So if you want this kind of a behavior which is keeps on changing or repeat in a way, so we have a function called invoke repeating, and you have to do it in start, because before starting of the game I want to say this is the method I want to keep calling at this interval starting at this uh, delay. So what I'll do is I'll just call my function like this. So I have to pass the name of my method which I want to call in a string, and then I have to give, say, it says start invoking after n seconds. So string, what is the method name? What is the time? What is the repeat rate? So float time is the delay time. So I'll do it delay, start delay, and after repeating, I'll pass repeat interval, and that's it. Right? I have to call this spawn animal. Now, if I call this after every 1 second or whatever timing is this, what do you think, it will work or not? So this will not work because it will still require us to press the key. So what I can do is I can just copy all this inside code because I don't want it to press the key anymore. I can just paste it inside this. So now basically I'll select and do shift tab to, or I can do right click format code. It will make everything look good. So now my spawn animal becomes, whenever I call this method, you create a random spawn position, select a random index, and spawn an animal. That's it. Okay. So now if I save it, if I go to my game and then run it, then I should start seeing random animals starting from 2 seconds and at every 1.5 seconds without pressing any key. So I'm just going left and right. Okay, see, this is pretty fast. I can't even see my farmer.
Should we
Why?
remove the spawn
Yeah.
function from the void update too?
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes. So that's why that's the good catch. So basically, I'm doing this one here, and I'm calling it in the update function as well. This thing runs once per frame. That is like 60 times per second. That's why we saw a stampede, or so you can say a herd of animals. So now this will work. So if I play now we can see it like smooth way of animal behavior. See, they are spawning. I'm not doing anything. Okay, they're randomly spawning and coming towards me. Okay.
No, I didn't understand the error.
Okay, what is the error? Can
You
you
put
read the error first?
no, not that error, but
Okay, okay. This thing, no, we had a lot of animals. That's why. What that
yeah,
thing? So basically, I'll show you in script. So this we have this function called spawn animals, which will spawn a single random animal at a random position, right? And it will take effect only when we call it. So if I am calling it in start, basically this thing means repeat call the method spawn animals starting from 2 seconds after every, then after every repeat interval seconds, and 2 seconds is my start delay, which is 1.5 seconds. Right. So here, this thing means invoke repeating. Basically, I am telling my Unity or telling my game to activate this function, and this function needs to repeatedly called after 2 seconds. When you start the game, wait for 2 seconds, then repeat this particular function after every 1.5 seconds. That is the meaning of this particular line, because the name is itself invoke repeating. If I hover over it, it says invokes the method name in time seconds, then repeatedly after every repeat rate. Okay, so it's kind of a predefined function within Unity, which can be used to call any method or a behavior repeatedly over time. Right. So this is something which is like part of a setup, and that's why we are defining it in the start method, right? And also, if we are calling it in update function, then basically it is calling the spawn animal function 60 times per second. So every second passes, you will be having at least 60 animals in the screen. That's why we saw that stampede. Okay, so I'll run it again. Maybe I'll just comment this out. You will not,
And
because if this thing is here, got it? If this thing is here, we cannot see, or this effect will not be visible at all. So now if I go here and if I play, I see multiple animals, like a flood of animals. See? Because it is spawning at 60 times per second. So I can't even scroll that far. Okay, that's why. So instead of calling it here, I want to call it in the start function so that it is managed properly.
so my question is, if we are invoking it in the start and every 1.5 seconds the animal is coming, in that case
Hmm.
the start itself is looping again and again?
No, no, no. Start is not looping it again and again. Basically, it is doing a setup internally, which is connected to the update thing. So basically, it is like whenever this function gets called, a timer starts, and after 2 seconds, it will start calling this function every 1.5 seconds. That's it. So the start function is not getting called repeatedly, because it is called only very first frame update. So before the game start, it will be called only once, like a setup thing. And once it is set up, then it keeps an internal timer to actually call it after every repeat interval. Okay, say 1.5 seconds. So this either we can implement this in a separate way, where I can write a timer function over here. Say if time dot delta time is greater than, say, what, some timer thing, say some 10 or 20, and then I can call whatever. Mm, so what I do is, let me implement it in a separate way as well. So I can create a public, not a just a float, private float timer. Okay, and which is basically I'm increasing the timer plus plus, right? And if my timer goes beyond, say, 50, 60, or say 70, let's keep it 100. Okay, and we'll starting from zero now. So timer, let's not do this like this. If I do it, timer is equal to time dot delta time timer plus time dot delta time. And if my timer is, say, greater than, let's keep it what I want. Let's keep it a random number for here. Let's say 10. If okay, then call this function and reset the timer. Timer is equal to 0, right? So now what is this will essentially do the same thing. So basically, I am creating a variable called timer, and the timer is getting updated at each frame. And once it crosses this value 10, I am calling the spawn animals and resetting the timer. Let's see if this works or not. I highly doubt this will work. So if I click on play, it should start spawning at some point at least. Okay, let's wait. I think 10 will be 10 seconds.
While
Let
it
me.
in the case of that
See,
first,
it is spawning because now the timer became 10 seconds. So it's basically the same thing. So if I reduce it to say let's 2 or 1.5 only, then this thing should work. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Not the same thing, but a similar thing. But invoke repeating is a much human readable way. So it should spawn anytime now. See, it spawned. Now it spawned again. Now it's spawned again. So it's the same thing. Now this code is not active. This is not active. We are spawning based on this only. So just to save all of this hassle, we have this function. Because this kind of a functionality is very common in video games where you want to keep something repeating at a certain interval, right?
if it's invoked in start, in that case, suppose we want to create the timer thing, a variable which we want to change, for example, from Unity. If we create a public variable, then it won't work because then public, it's called once and then it's not called after
Yes, yes,
that.
very
So
good, very good point. Very good point. Right, right, right. Then you have to do it this way only. So you are saying, suppose this is my current interval it will spawn. But once I want to change this interval in game, then it will not be possible because this setting only happens once before the game starts. Okay. So then very good point. So you will have to implement something like this only.
fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. So like this is in some way doing this. So it looks more messy, but it provides you more control. So you can actually switch the timer. Suppose you can keep this thing as a variable. Say I want public float time delay. Delay is equal to what, say 1.5. Now since it's a variable, I can change this. Control C, it wants F, and instead of this, I can use time delay. Right, this will work. So now this thing you can change anywhere in the code or create a function, or you can say suppose anything happens, then you change this variable to increase, or suppose you can create difficulties 3 levels, right? Suppose you are tracking the score. If the score reaches say 25 points, you increase the time delay, decrease the time delay by 1 second. Then if the score reaches 75% or 75 points, then you increase the time delay to even further, say zero point 0.5 seconds, just like you have that in that game, no, in the browser thing, that dinosaur jumping game, the speed is getting increased. So similarly you can keep increasing the speed of the animals running towards a person. Okay, so for now let's look at this, but really good point, because if you want to change these parameters when within the game, this will not happen, right? So I'll just comment out all of this and let's keep it. This is also not required. So I'll just so to comment out, just select and press Control and the question mark key. So it will comment whatever is selected. And to on comment, just select and press it again. Okay. Now this is fine. It should repeat. This is done. Let me go back to my code. Now that is not required. Add collider and trigger components. Okay, great. So now the only thing remaining is that I want to actually, okay, it was in play mode. So now, once my animals are running towards my farmer, the farmer is able to shoot food. We want to have that functionality where my food hits the animal should get vanished, just like get destroyed. Okay. Or based on that, we can increase some points, or maybe do some sort of what do you call benchmarking, or you can call it some milestone. Say you killed say 20 animals, or you fed 20 animals, not killed. That should work fine. So what do you want is, we want to create a,
I have a doubt.
okay.
Actually, what happens in my case is, whether you address it or no,
Hmm.
the animals come from a point where the human cannot reach.
Then to good only, na. It is of no threat to the human.
But the human may not get a point by feeding it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yes, yes. So then you just check what is your range for your player movement, the X and Y range. You keep
Uh,
the same range for your spawning. That's what we did
okay,
here in the code. So my
okay,
farmer
okay.
can move between X range for plus 14 and minus 14. And same thing I have kept for my spawn manager. My X range is same between 14 and
Oh,
minus 14. You keep it same.
okay, 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 okay. Fine, fine, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, okay, let's moving on. Now we want to actually add a collider to all of my game objects. Let me place in the scene. So that so a collider is a virtual or non-visual component which keeps track of a collision between the two objects. So if we have two colliders, if they come in close contact, then it will trigger an event. So you can use that event to do something, say change color, vanish this, or trigger an animation of a blast or something like that. So there is a component called collider. So basically, I have added all my like three animals from my prefabs folder into my hierarchy so that I can add a collider on top of them. So let me just focus over here. And we want to keep the collider. So I'll just add a, on all these three, I'll add a box collider. Not 2D, just the box collider. Okay. So now if I see the box colliders are added, but they are of a huge size. I want to now reduce the size to a, okay, so now I'll select any one. Okay, horse does not have a box collider. It has a box collider. And the size is, so you see that the box collider component over here, animator is not required. This is not required. This is not required. Box collider, I have selected the animal or any one of the animals. Then I edit collider, I click here. Then I see the collider. See, the collider is very small. You see just a small object over here. So all the faces will have a small dot. I can just click and drag them to make it cover my animal. Okay, like this, and maybe like this. Now I want it to cover from all the sides, and it should kind of a little bit more than the, it should be a little bit more than the extent of my player, so that if my food is passing from nearby, it should also capture that. Okay, or you can keep it very close to the shape of the player, or shape of the animal, if you want to make it a bit tough, or maybe as exact as possible. So my collider is this. Okay, again, it went, edit collider. So this is my collider for this particular animal. So if my food item enters over here, like touches the boundary in any direction, then it will trigger a collision event, and then we can do something with it. Okay. Now similarly, I'll choose my moose. The collider is pretty huge. I'll make it small. So there are like these small faces that you need to check. Okay, it is way. I'll just see from this side. How does it look? Okay, so it is on this particular side. I have to make it move right. This thing also comes right. Now this is fine in this direction. And the, yeah. So if you press Q and E, you can go up and down while clicking the right click, while pressing the right click button. And this should come. Okay, I'll select this, edit collider, select this face and come here. And similarly over here. So this is a very small squarish dot. You have to look for it and then click and drag. Okay, and this side is beyond, and see, yeah, Y could be a bit more. Okay, is it okay? Yeah, looks fine to me. Maybe just this one and this one. Yeah, so this is fine for me. Now let's click on dog, edit the collider. It is already in edit mode. It's pretty huge. So basically, if my, this is too big.
Is there some
let me see for
option
this.
that will create a like box collider according to the size of the object we are giving, like a boundary box?
Mostly it is not like that. You have to edit the collider, or you can use a mesh collider to treat your mesh of the object as a collider itself. So you're saying some function has to be there which covers the complete object, like a cuboid circumventing the object, right?
Yes,
By
yes,
default. So I'm
yes.
not aware, but it's a good point. They should have this functionality, or I'm not aware of that. Maybe red component, remove component, layers, override, nothing, include layer, exclude layer, physics material. Okay, cool. So if I select my dog again, there is this collider. I'll click on edit collider. I'll make it move slightly inwards. Okay, this works fine for me. Then since I've made some changes to all of these, I'll just click on override so that all the prefabs are saved. I have apply all. That is okay. And now I have to actually trigger a event. Okay, so next I want to do is I want to create a trigger. So basically, suppose I want to trigger some events from the collider, I have to select these all these animals with the collider attached, and I have to select is trigger, so that the Unity knows that if the collision happens within these three colliders, then you have to trigger an event. So just if you hover over it, if enabled, this collider is used for triggering event and is ignored by the physics engine. Okay, so now that is there, and repeat the process of the animals and the project type. So now the same thing I have to do it with the food, because a lone collider will not trigger a collision event. We need two colliders to collide in order to get the event. So I have to open food as well, add a box collider. See, now it came nicely. So I don't know how this works, but we can actually investigate that. So it is completely functional, and it is overlapping my object. Okay, now it is there. I'll also click its trigger checkbox. So now since I have made some changes to the prefab, I'll just say apply all, and for same for this apply all. So basically, if you see this override thing, then just apply all, so that you just saved. Done.
So Vinay,
And
what does that in is trigger do?
so
Is trigger
basically, is
thing.
trigger. So is trigger. If you look at is trigger, it will actually enable this collider. If enabled, this
Hmm.
collider is used for triggering an event. So it is just saying it's a flag. So if collision happens, you trigger an event, and then trigger that triggered event we can capture from the script just for that,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes maybe you don't want to trigger an event, but and we also want to have this rigid body component you to attach on the food item. Okay, the caps lock is on rigid body. Okay, now we will create a separate script to add this behavior of vanishing the food item and the animal when the collider are colliding. So basically, when the farmer is shooting the food, if the food hits any animal, I want the food to also go away and the animal to also go away, right? So for that, what we'll do is I'll just go to my scripts, create a new script called destroy, or maybe detect collision. Detect collision. Spelling is correct. So basically, we do not need all of this over here, but we need another predefined function, which is called on trigger. If you start typing, you will get it, and you can control Z, Z, Z. Let me do it again. On trigger, enter, tab. But it is not auto completing. Why so? Why on trigger, enter? Then I can say a collider. It takes a collider and we call it other. This is fine. So if you look at this, it's a predefined function. And if I right click, go to definition. Why there is no definition? Why is it so? Right. So basically, this is the on trigger enter function. It becomes active once we have that trigger checkbox clicked. Right. So what? And it takes a collider. Collider is something that we added, the box collider or a mesh collider. Collider is a predefined class in Unity, a base class for all colliders. It's a Unity class. Okay. Detect collisions on trigger enter. So go to definition. Why is this not working? Should work, no? Okay.
You need to attach this detect collisions to this one, no?
To
Now
all the
it's just
objects.
a
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe. So what I want to do is basically in this function, this collider will refer to the other body which is collided to this particular body. So suppose this script is attached to my food, then the other will be the collider of the animals. So what I want to do is I want to destroy both. So I'll just click on destroy, write destroy what? Say this game object. I'll just write game object, and I'll also want to destroy the other game object. So I'll just control V and write other here, other dot game object, right? So basically, I'll just write in comments, destroy or vanish this game object and the other game object, the other game object which which collided with this game object,
Animals collide each other.
to which this script is attached.
So in this script, what happens like when two animals collide each other? Like
So it depends. Like if both of them has this kind of the same script attached, and the other game object also. So in a fraction of second, there will be a difference in the event being triggered. So whoever gets triggered first, that will act, right? So if both of them are colliding, and I am attaching this script, so basically I will be attaching this script only to my food item, not to my animals, right? So only this thing will trigger the this event because it has this kind of behavior attached. The food item will attach. Okay. So now this is fine. Let me attach this script to my food item. Food item, or they are saying let's attach it to the animals. Yep, any one needs to be attached. So let's attach it to all the animals, right?
Mm.
So I'll attach this script to all my animals like this, and I'll say Control S, and I'll just do override, apply all animals. This is applied. Now no override required. Food, no override required. Okay, apply all. This is required. Okay, so what I can do is I can just maybe hide them from the scene and play it once to see if this action is working or not. If my animals are spawning, yeah, they are spawning and I am making them disappear. Yeah, it's working fine. Okay, see, the animals are disappearing as and when I'm shooting. Okay, cool. This thing is working. Okay,
Vinay, did you add rigid body to the food?
yeah, added this
No,
thing.
it's at me. So according to the PDF, they asked us to put this collision even for all the bodies
Animals,
except for the human. Yeah, animals as well as the pizza.
is it?
But yeah, so they mentioned it,
But
but
it's
is
working
it
anyway.
necessary? Yeah,
I don't think
it's
so.
not
Where
necessary.
did they
Yeah.
mention it? They're saying we need to code or destroy them, add the script to each animal prefab only, they said. Only in animal prefabs you have to add.
Okay, okay.
Because
Somewhere
like the
yeah.
trigger rigid body component is trigger checkbox, edit collider, drag the collider handles to encompass the object that is done. So now we have to add a condition for the game over where suppose my animal is crossing the position, the lower bound or say the minus z, then that means my game is over. So basically, if any animal crosses the farmer and goes beyond the farmer, then my game should say game over. Okay. So
Vinay,
what
what
we
is
can do,
that override?
override. So basically, all these are prefabs, right? They have a basic prefab in my prefabs folder, and I added
Okay.
multiple. I added this collision onto it. I added a box slider onto it. So in order to save all of these newly added behavior in these default prefabs, I have to click on override and apply all, right?
Okay, okay.
So to do that, I have to click on apply all, and apply all,
Where
right?
exactly is where on the top tag?
Yes, prefab and click. You will see over here, overrides. If it
Okay,
is a
okay.
prefab, on this you will not see this thing. Only on prefab items which has this blue color cube icon, there only you will see this option because they are a part
Oh,
of a prefab or a class or
okay.
an instance of a prefab. So it's
Okay,
like
okay.
there is a prefabricated. So suppose you bought a bike and now you're driving the bike, you made some modifications to it. If you want to reflect that into all the bikes of the same kind, then you do override the changes. Otherwise, you want to
Okay.
keep it for this particular instance, you save it as a different prefab,
Okay, okay.
right?
So in this, like the script is applied to animals, right?
All the animals.
So for each animal, the other means the other animals too, right? Like the trigger event.
No. So the other means the other collider which is hitting. So if the other collider is a animal itself,
Yeah,
then what will happen? That's what you are asking.
yeah.
So maybe let's
So
test that out. Good,
like
good, very good
if
question.
attach the script to the food itself, then it won't be problem. The other will be the animals.
Yeah, right. So good question. Good question. Let me just turn it towards him and let me turn moves towards my this thing and then I'll just move it a bit back. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so one of it got destroyed, right? No. I don't. I think it happened because of the food being shot at. So let's keep it on the side and then we will see. Let's see what happens. So nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. So I think that's because the other collider item should have a this game object, other game object, and the collider on trigger enter. It only works when you have a rigid body on one of the colliders. So my animals do not have a rigid body, but my food has a rigid body. So
Oh,
collision detection. So only on rigid body you have this function, collision detection. How do you want to detect collisions? The method to be used, the method to use to detect collisions for child colliders, right? And they do not have any method to detect collisions. Okay, it's just a collider, and we have mentioned that the collider is a trigger. So that's why only when they are being hit by a food item, then they are getting called. The function is getting called. Okay, so very good point. And there are different ways of detecting continuous, continuous, dynamic, speculative. So like all of multiple ways of detecting collisions are implemented. I don't know about all of them. So discrete, I don't know how this works, but we can read the documentations. So if you click on the question mark, it will take you to the documentation directly. So you can open it in Edge and okay, and then you can see this particular rigid body component, what everything is doing, collect detection, collision, continuous. So it's a default over more continuous. Discrete, the physics system uses the physics system uses discrete collision detection to calculate the collision for the rigid body colliders. Discrete is rigid body is not involving any fast moving collisions. Is not very computationally intensive, of course. Sweep based CCD, continuous collision detection. Rigid body collider and static collider. This is without a associated rigid body. If this rigid body is not involved in any fast moving. So basically, if the rigid body that is being used for detecting collisions or for the collision event, it's not very fast moving, then you use discrete. It is computationally less heavy on the system. And if you want to involve detect collisions without the use of a rigid body, then you should use continuous. Static colliders, sweep-based CCD is more computationally intensive than discrete or continuous speculative. Okay, so you guys can read about this, but good. That was a good question. What will happen if these two animals are like, okay, I think I have changed the saved this to, oh right. So I have changed this orientation. So now they will all be facing
So
in that direction. So let me
every
save
object
this
has
back
a
again.
rigid body, then we don't have to add like that box collider. Then if every body was rigid body, then should we need to add the box collider component then?
So you are saying if every object already has a rigid body, then do we need
Yeah.
to attach? Let me just check. So this thing is fine, 180, 180, all of this is fine. Cool. Okay, so you're saying if I have a new, let's say I create a 3D object, like say a cube, sphere, where is it? Okay, let me bring it up, say reset the transform and click on the sphere. And you are saying if there is no rigid, if I attach rigid body, then there is no need of the collider. Right? This is what you're saying, no?
Ah, yes.
Okay, so let us maybe just. So what I'll do is I'll just remove the colliders for box collider. I'll remove the collider from the collider here as well, and I'll add rigid body to all of these, and then we will see if I can still trigger the collision, right? Let's see.
But there is no is trigger function
Yeah,
for
see
rigid
nothing.
body, no?
And everybody is falling also on the ground because they have the rigid body, no? So let me just undo. Let me do just use gravity. Let me uncheck use gravity. And for the food also, let's uncheck use gravity. Otherwise, my pizza will fall like a projectile. And this one, uncheck gravity. And let's, its trigger is still there, but the components, let me just completely remove the box collider. Remove component. Now they all have rigid bodies attached. Its trigger is false. Let's see if this works. So my nothing is happening. I'm not able to. So I think my dog is actually below my shooting range of my pizza. So what I do is I'll keep this food a bit below, and if it hits the dog, it should vanish. Let's see now. Yeah, nothing is happening. So we can't use that. So we have to add a box collider or any kind of collider to detect collisions. That's how the physics in Unity works. So what I'll do is I'll just remove the rigid body component from here, and I'll add a box collider back to it. Box collider, we call it, oh shit. Now I have to edit all the colliders again. No. So what I can do is I can just delete all of this and I can see everything is there. Box collider. Okay, that's why we have prefabs for. So we can use our instance to test out and we have not saved it. So everything is correct only. This is correct, food is correct, and that is also fine. Okay, cool. So let's see, this is working, rigid body. We are able to vanish the game object. Now next thing is uh, in which destroy out of bounds. So now we want to trigger a debug message whenever any animals crosses the lower bound, or maybe just he's not being fed and he is able to cross the farmer. Then it should trigger a message that the game is over. So where to do that? We will do that in the destroy out of bounds script. We'll open that and basically else if it is greater than z bound and less than the smaller z bound, then we are destroying the game object. But now in this case, if it crosses, then I want to handle it separately, right? So I'll just go to else if my transform dot position. So basically, this is attached to all the animals, right? So if any of my animals goes beyond that, what I want to do is debug dot log game over. Okay, spelling mistakes. And once I print this, I want to destroy this particular game object. Destroy the game object. Destroy small game object, right? So it's essentially the same thing, but only if my animal crosses my Z bound. So this thing will work for the bullets. Will work for the food because in the upward direction only food is going. This will work for animals, and if animal crosses, check if any animal crosses the lower bound, crosses the farmer or the lower bound. They are not the same thing essentially, but if any animal crosses the farmer, then it will essentially cross the Z bound. That means the game is over. The farmer. If any animal crosses the farmer, then we are destroying the game object. So it will destroy the animal. What if I also want to destroy the player object? So what I'll do is I'll just destroy what I want to. So I'll tell you a new thing now. So let me just comment this thing first. Destroy the animal game object. Let me just comment this whole thing out. Test this first, and then I'll move next. Okay, we are way beyond our deadline. Okay, yeah. So the our unit 2 is complete. Now you have these challenges to complete and some quizzes, all of that. So maybe let's see if this works. So I should be able to move left and right. I should be able to shoot food. The animals should keep on spawning, and they should vanish when I click them. See, one animal went beyond me, and I see this message now. So my game is over, but I can still play, right? Because I have not stopped these functionalities. So what I can do is I want to just to make it more real, I can destroy the player as well. So destroy the player game object. So basically, you tell me how to do that quickly, because we have no time. So just unmute and speak up. How can you destroy the player in this case? So we want a reference to this particular game object. Either we drag and drop here, or I can tell you a better way. So the better way is that you can actually access any of the objects in the hierarchy by their name. So the name is farmer. So I can just do game object dot find, just write the name player in the exact same spelling. Sorry, for me it is farmer. Farmer dot game object dot that's it, done. So this should destroy my player as well, player game object. Okay, let's see if this works. So we'll not shoot any animals, and let's maybe make this one bigger. Yeah. So we should see game over, and we are seeing multiple game overs because like multiple animals are crossing my farmer. Okay. So one thing is crosses. See, my player is gone. Now I cannot move or shoot. See, right? And now we are getting this error because it says object not set to the instance of an object. That's it. That is it. Because now once the next animal crosses after this is destroyed, it is not able to find this, right? So that's why we are getting this error. Object reference not set to the instance of an object. So once my farmer, if you see, there is no farmer in my hierarchy now, it is destroyed, but this script is still looking for it because the next animal crosses. So it's a small glitch. We can fix that. So we can write if this is true, then only you destroy. Otherwise, you don't destroy this. Okay. So that is it for this unit. You have lot of ideas. Ideas I can see is that. There is a small task for you where you want to create I think what is the challenge for you guys? So it's a different game altogether. You have to make a game called Fetch, where the balls will fall on the sky and the dog, you can throw dog or maybe make your dog move to grab that. Okay. And then I think the bonus challenge is where you can edit some of the things in your particular game only. Make the ball spawn from the top of the screen. This is also fine. And bonus challenge solution is there. Unit Lab 2, create new Unity project. Yeah, so you can actually edit the game based on your thoughts. Suppose you want to make the animals to come from the X direction as well. You can do that. You can make them move diagonally. You can make the player go above and shoot whatever you like, and you can make it turn as well. So maybe you can use your mouse. Mouse will be a bit complex at this point, but you can assign separate keys say Q and E to turn it and then shoot it or shoot the wood in the direction. All is up to you. And this is it. Please finish the assignments or anything remaining from the tutorial in the unit 1 and in the unit 2 as well. We will meet on next Monday, right? And very happy Independence Day to all of you in advance. Professor Gautam, anything else that you want to cover?
Yeah, cool. Everything is fine.
Okay. So I think
Yeah.
we did a lot of things, a lot of important things in today's class. Please go through it once, and during these next 4 days, you can put me in a message in the WhatsApp if you get stuck anywhere. Then in the same group, we can discuss that, and you can should be able to do it. So we just learned a lot of things, the colliders, rigid bodies, and then destroy. We did the destroy thing for the first time. How do we destroy something which is out of the bound of the screen, right? We learned about the invoke repeating function. We did a manual way of doing that as well. So we covered a lot of things. Go through them, do a bit of Google search, maybe watch some YouTube videos if you are stuck anywhere. So you should be able to do it. And let me know in the WhatsApp group if you get stuck anywhere. Okay. So with this, we finish our unit 2. We have 3 more units to go before we can call ourselves Unity developers. And let's see. Yes, Srinath, you have a question?
No, I was going to react. I accidentally clicked the raise
Okay,
button.
yeah. Nice. Okay.
Okay, what was your reaction, Srinath? Nice. Okay, cool then. So we'll get back with the assignments. I mean, the challenges. We'll try to finish it by
Yes.
Monday. Yeah. So by Monday, we can expect everyone to share their screen and then show whatever they have done.
Yes, both the challenges
That's
for Unit 1 and Unit
yeah.
2.
Yes.
Or better could be if they can all can record a video and share that in the location in the OneDrive. Then
Yeah,
we can
yeah, yeah.
all of us can have a look.
Yeah,
Because like
sure. Yeah.
sharing in the class time will eat up the whole of the class time only.
Yeah. Yes, correct. Yeah.
So whoever does that, create a small video, just the video of the running screen, maybe the glimpse of the script. That's it. Maybe a 1 minute or 2 minute video. That should be fine.
Yeah.
And if that works, great. We can use all of that to put up in your YouTube channel as a demonstrator. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. It's time for you to grab your dinner and see you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
Stop recording. Okay.